Happy Monday. Nice to see you guys. Let's start seated. Something nice and supportive. Where we can just let our spine get nice and integrated. Integrated is a nice word because we can be at ease, right? But we can still be in alignment. And so see if you can find your way to that capacity for ease in your seat. Maybe let your eyes close here. As you're seated, and as that integration comes through the spinal column, think about how you can relax across the shoulder girdle as well, so that the distance between the tops of the shoulders and the bottoms of the ears maximizes. Think about relaxing into the jaw musculature. And into the throat musculature. Give ourselves 30 more seconds here. And then that's it. Feels appropriate. Eyes open. We receive some light. If they're closed, we'll bring our hands together at heart center. Interlace the fingers here and make a choice, either to push the fingers, knuckles away, or the palms away. And feel how the shoulders respond to this. So we're driving straight out from that shoulder level. And then we're going to inhale and let the arms reach skyward. Exhale, we'll bring our hands back to shoulder level. Inhale, skyward. Exhale, shoulder level. If you can sync the capacity for breath and the movement so that your entire inhale is about lifting and your entire exhale is about returning that whole shoulder structure to neutral. Now, wherever we are, forward or backward hands, retract the humerus so we get that full pullback, that full shoulder engagement, that integration, and we'll inhale the arms up and overhead. Oftentimes, this is less mobility, more restrictive when we're fully integrated in the shoulder girdle, because we've learned to move with the humeral head disentangled from its structure. And so we move here with full integration. We really recapture our full and true shoulder capacity. The next time that the arms come to neutral, let's release them and just follow it into a little seated fold. I love this seated fold. It's really removes a lot of the posterior chain restriction in the hamstrings. It forces that hip hinge. That doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. It just means that it's a different emphasis. And we'll give ourselves just 15 more seconds here. We'll walk ourselves up in a seat. Nice work. Let's transition to hands and knees tabletop. Crafting our base position, splaying those fingers out nice and wide, rooting and anchoring our body down. When it feels appropriate, we'll curl our toes. Use an exhale to explore backwards into down dog. And then use your inhale to come back to tabletop. And we'll exhale back into child's pose. Land in child's pose and think about the shoulder girdle softening. So much time on the shoulders to start class. As you settle here, think about all of that posterior musculature, that subscapular musculature, just easing into this shape. Let the fingertips engage with your mat, and we'll pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. From tabletop, curl the toes, lift the seat. Find down dog. And then let's walk our way forward into fold. We'll inhale into half lift. Flat, neutral back. Think about that neutrality of the spine, and then exhale your way back into fold. Let your head go here. Like drip into this fold. Draw the awareness to the sacrum. Let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Finding mountain. Engaging in that structure of mountain, the solid foundation of mountain. Breathe. Just a nice, full, fluid breath. The next time that you exhale, let's send our left foot straight back into lunge. As that left foot lands, we'll sweep ourselves up into crescent. Think about that big verticalness of the torso. And then we'll drop the hands to heart center. And think about bringing that shoulder structure back. So we draw into that width. And then we'll step forward to re-engage, reimagine mountain. Finding our breath cycle. And then when it feels appropriate, we're using an exhale to slide our right foot straight back. Into lunge, sweeping the arms to crescent, thinking about this vertical torso space. Eventually dropping the hands to heart center and retracting into that scapula space. And then stepping forward, sweeping the arms up and overhead, and exhaling through fold. Grasp here either the calves or the ankles or the hamstrings, maybe the toe mounds, maybe even just slide the fingers underneath the toe mounds, but give yourself some connection with your legs here, wherever that is, hamstrings, calves, ankles, toe mounds, and allow for that connection that your hands are making with your legs to encourage depth into the fold. Subtle pull maybe. Think about it as encourage, not force. And then we'll inhale, release the grip, find half lift, craft that neutral flat spine. Think about someone being able to serve tea off your back. And then we'll relax back into the fold and broaden across the shoulder girdle. So it's like the shoulders let go and that engages or releases depth. Plant your hands and we'll walk back into down dog. If you're weight forward to plank, good vertical strength through the arms. Think about just driving that engagement down, and then let's lower ourselves to our belly. Flip the tops of the feet. Anchor the forehead here. So cervical spine is neutral. Adjust the chin placement until you feel that integration of the cervical spine. Squeeze the elbows in towards the rib cage. Flex the quads so the kneecaps lift. And just think about creating a neutral anterior stability placement here. Super easy for the lumbar to bow, super easy for the front of our body to kind of soften. Think about stable, crafting stable. I don't want to say rigid, but stable. And we're going to hold this for 15 more seconds. Exhale and relax. Slide your hands underneath your forehead for a little crocodile pose. There's this very studious seeker. Lives out in the middle of the forest. Lives in this kind of modern structure. But he's surrounded by history, both recent and ancient, in the books and the scrolls and the texts that he has. Floor-to-ceiling windows, but floor-to-ceiling manuscripts as well. We'll give ourselves just 20 more seconds here. Just relaxing now. You can take that rigidity out. I said it wasn't rigidity, but just in case there's any in there. And we just find our capacity to breathe and be at ease. And then when it feels appropriate, let's slide our hands underneath our shoulders. We'll press ourselves up to hands and knees tabletop. Once again, same way we establish that vertical strength in the arms in plank, think about establishing that vertical strength in the arms in tabletop. So the structure of tabletop is just as stable. Squeeze into the core to set that neutral base. Imagine that we're crafting that table that someone could serve tea off of once again. And we're gonna take our right arm and extend it straight forward. Thumbs up, fingers spread wide. And then plant that right hand. And we'll do the same thing to the left side. Left arm extends straight out. We stay neutral through the spine. We splay those fingers wide. And we'll release. Curl our toes, lift our seat, and find down dog. Drive the weight, drive the strength in our arms from our hands to our hips and craft that length in the spine. And then let's walk forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. Get into that half lift, craft that neutral spine, and then start to seek kind of lateral movement. So we sway to the left and right, but we maintain that neutrality. You can see that I went into flexion, right? It's easy to drop the head. Really think about keeping the head out long, that neutral cervical spine. And then we'll come back to neutral and release back into the fold. We should have found some more space. We move laterally, kind of pull on some rigid portions in the back. Try to drop into that space. Drift your awareness to your sacrum, and let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. We get into this top space, into our mountain shape. Squeeze the glutes, build the foundation of strength from the feet, and try to find that space that you crafted in the back. Like we're lifting the torso away from the hips. And then let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. The left foot lands, interlace the fingers so that we can squeeze the hands for a little additional stability. We're going to use that kind of pressure in the hands to help lock down this interior musculature sheath, and then just slide back into your right hamstring. So the more you squeeze in the hands, the more kind of stability we craft in the body. I keep wanting to use the word rigidity, and I'm going to try to remove that from my lexicon. And then we'll revisit that front knee bend, and we'll just slide forward. Hands can relax back to a traditional heart center alignment so that we pull some of that stickiness, and we'll release. Second side, the right foot straight back. Once we craft there, then we can find that finger interlace. Squeeze the hands like you're trying to craft strength. Maybe you're trying to squeeze a walnut between your hands, and then we'll slide back into the left hamstring. And we feel that little bit of balance challenge, but we can help with the hand squeeze. We'll rebend that front knee. Nice way to find some depth on that anterior sheath of the right hip, and then we'll step forward. Release your hands back to traditional heart center. Left foot's gonna slide back. Left heel is gonna ground. And we're gonna take our right forearm onto our right thigh. So a little modified side angle. Left arm can reach up if that feels accessible to you. It doesn't have to though. It can stay right on the hip. Think about the hip shoulder alignment, and then think about shoulder alignment, so that we have this really nice neutral spine. And then we'll just draw right up into warrior two. So left oblique is gonna pull us up. And we land there. Spin that left heel up, we'll come into crescent. Drop our hands and we'll step to the front of the mat. Reset your mountain, rebuild the mountain, and then right foot slides straight back. We land in our stable base, we ground our right heel, our left forearm's coming to our left thigh, right hand can reach up, can also stay on that hip. We're thinking about the shoulder alignment and hip shoulder alignment, so that the spine is neutral in this shape. Cervical spine included. Cervical spine's definitely the hardest part, right? It's hard to see where we're putting our head. Try to feel into integration. Eventually, right oblique's gonna draw us into two. Right heel spins up into crescent. Hands drop to heart center. And we return to the front of our mat. Nice work. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Flat, neutral, expansive back. Exhale back into fold. Plant our hands. We'll walk back into down dog. Shift forward to plank. Get that vertical strength. Drop the knees to tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet. And glide back into child's pose. Land here, and then allow the torso to ease into depth. So that is anterior hip crease, kind of pulling back. You can squeeze the core, but you can also just relax across this shape and allow gravity, that gravitational force load, right, to just press on the body. And that also can offer depth in this shape. Just interacting, experiencing the world that we happen to live upon. So let gravity do its thing, if it's willing. We'll give ourselves just 20 more seconds here. when it feels appropriate, we'll pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. From hands and knees tabletop, set that strength through the arm structure. Think about flat, neutral spine. Think about engaging the core so that we can stay neutral. And then send your right foot straight back, toes pointed straight down. Think about balancing the hips so that we are neutral. Again, we can serve T off our back. And then release that right leg, and we'll extend the left. Same thing. We want core engagement. We want to stay flat. We want to stay neutral and engaged. And then we'll release that left leg, curl our toes, lift our seat, find our way back into down dog. Let's walk forward to fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drip into that fold. Let your head go. Let the torso relax so that gravity can again elongate us. Drift your awareness to the bottoms of the feet and think about balancing the weight distribution, toe mounds and heels, medial lateral edge, so that we are as anchored as we can be here. And then slide your left foot straight back into lunge. With the hands as kind of a tripod and that right foot also acting as the third piece of this balance, slide back into your right hamstring. So little pyramid action. Keep that right heel pointed straight back so that the both feet are running on parallel tracks. And then we'll bend that right knee, ground the left heel, and slide back into your right hamstring once again. So now we have triangle. We can choose to fully take the depth of triangle by taking that right hand to the medial edge, taking the left hand to the hip, but we don't have to. We can stay in this grounded version. If we want to take it to full expression, we can take it to full expression. Does not have to be where we end up here. Either place, whether we have two hands grounded or one, think about elongating the neck without changing the head angle so that we have a neutral cervical spine and we get that length. And then we'll find our way back down to our left hand on the left side of the mat, right hand on the right side of the mat, and the left heel will spin up. Stay back in that right hamstring and try to shift your weight towards your left heel. Really take the strength of the shape and anchor it in that left foot. Then start to strengthen into the right hamstring. Whatever that means for you, whether that's pushing back beyond kind of what would normally be the maximum expression, or whether it's just anchoring down into that right foot more, try to fire up the right hamstring. And then we'll bend that right knee and slide our left foot forward into a nice asymmetrical forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. We should have some more space on the right side. Try not to topple over, but really make your way in. And then when you're ready, we'll move on to the second side. Right foot's gonna slide straight back. We land, we anchor, we use the tripod first. Left hamstring starting to drive back. Just activating that space. We're using the hands to help us stay balanced. Find your full capacity for breath. And then we'll bend that left knee, round our right heel, slide back into your left hamstring. We have our triangle alignment. Now it's just the choice, right? Do we want to stay where we are, elongate the head, or do we want to take a more traditional approach to triangle with that right hand extending skyward? Whichever shape we've chosen, we're going to return to that. Left hand on left side of the mat, right hand on right side of the mat. Spin your right heel up. Drive the weight towards that right heel and try to activate that left hamstring just a little bit more. You can do that by pushing down into the left foot. You can do that by flexing back into the hamstring, whatever feels appropriate for you. When you're right, when you're ready, left knee bends. We'll step the right foot forward. Inhale into half lift, neutral spine. Exhale into fold. Let your body just be absorbed into this fold. That was a huge, long string of hamstring focus. Shift your awareness to your sacrum and we'll roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Inhale, hands to heart center. Think about the connection your feet are making here. Now we have some fatigue, pretty likely in the hamstrings. Push down into the toe prints. Think back into chair. Easy to want to fall onto the heels, drive those toe prints down. Fully express your chair. Push back through your hamstrings, take forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands, we'll walk our way back into down dog. A lot of room in down dog, but also we still have that fatigue. Energize from the hands. Shift forward to plank and lower yourself to your belly. Flex the quads, lift the kneecaps, push down into the tops of the feet. Make sure the hands are right underneath the shoulders. Line those elbows up so we squeeze in, and then just take your forehead maybe 1/4 of an inch off the mat. So we bring in a little of that cobra energy, baby cobra energy. As you're here, think about your capacity to breathe. No mountain too tall, no river too wide. With you by my side, we'll take the stride. I'm gonna be your love, I'm gonna be your love. Through the fire, through the storms above. Relax inside your hands underneath your forehead for a little crocodile pose. I'm gonna be your love, I'm gonna be your love. The world spins mad when the light fades out. I'll be the faith when you're filled with doubt. In every heartbeat, in every breath, I'm yours forever, in life and in death. I'm gonna be your love, I'm gonna be your love. Through the fire, through the storms above. When the days grow dark, when the nights get rough, I'm gonna be your love, I'm gonna be your love. Ooh, 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 be your love. We'll give ourselves 25 more seconds here. When the silence grows and the crowds disperse, I'll be the voice in the universe, holding you close through the highs and lows. Together we'll stand when nobody knows. Ooh, 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 and when it feels appropriate, let's slide our hands underneath our shoulders. We'll press ourselves up to hands and knees tabletop. Nice work from tabletop. Establish your neutral position. Think about the torso being engaged. From that neutrality, left foot slides straight back, right hand reaches straight forward, thumb up, fingers splayed out wide. Looking to elongate this anterior sheath of musculature. Really think about driving in opposite directions. You can go toes down or toes straight back, whatever feels best. Relax, right hand plants, left knee plants. Reset your spine, re-engage your core, and we'll do this to the second side. Left hand forward, right leg back. Toes can point or point straight down. And it's driving the limbs in opposite directions. And we'll relax. Curl your toes, lift your seat, and find down dog. Let's walk our way forward to fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Settle. You can roll or sweep your way up and into mountain. Take the left foot, slide it straight back into lunge. Ground your left heel, roll to warrior two. Nice work. Think about the verticalness of the tibia and fibia on the front leg. So we want to be anchored there, and then we're headed to side angle. We should have a ton of room, but we can have some nice fatigue limitations. Again, check your shoulder and your hip alignment. And then let's draw back into two. Spin the left heel up, we'll find crescent. Drop the hands to heart center, and we will return to mountain. Right foot slides back when you're ready. Ground the right heel, find two. Think about that verticalness of our tibia and fibia. We're headed straight down into our side angle. Noting our hip-shoulder alignment, our shoulder-shoulder alignment. And then when you feel balanced, we'll draw ourselves back into two. Settle. Right heel spins up crescent. Hands drop. Now we return to the front of the mat. Drift right into that anterior hip awareness, anterior hip crease awareness. And we're going to retract that straight back into chair. Fatigue in the hamstrings. Think about firing up the quads to support yourself here. And then we can fully extend to the shape. We'll push forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands, we'll walk into down dog. Wiggle the tailbone here. Try to get all the way back into this shape. And let's come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, and glide our way back into child's pose. We settle there. Think about checking in with your rate of respiration. Making sure that the rate of respiration is working with the heartbeat. Trying to slow that heartbeat down. And then return to our homeostasis, circulation, respiration. Last 10 seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, fingertips grip into the mat. We'll pull ourselves forward to tabletop. And from tabletop, let's extend our legs straight out in front of us. Nice little staff, nice vertical spine, opportunity to kind of feel that posterior chain against the mat. Remember, you can bend the knees. There's nothing preventing you from bending your knees except your decision to not do so. Let's take ourselves forward into fold. Won't be here super duper long, but it's a nice little check-in before we find our way to our spine. Let's give ourselves 60 seconds longer here. Last 10 seconds. When it feels appropriate, we'll walk ourselves back up into staff, just to feel that reintegration of the spine. And then we're headed straight onto our backs. Landing here and allowing for the observation of what we've done thus far. Just feeling into how your body is responding against the neutrality of your mat. And then when it feels appropriate for you, let's bring our knees to neutral. Kneecaps point towards the ceiling. And we'll start a little dynamic rotation exploration. Just swaying the knees, letting the hips and the spine work with the space that we've offered them. And so this seeker, this intellectual seeker with all of this knowledge and all of these books, scribes, manuscripts, was absolutely fascinated by trees. He was sure that trees themselves held the secret of the world and maybe the universe. And so very frequently, he found himself picking a good book about trees, species, growth patterns, leaf structure, with him out into the forest where his favorite huge oak tree sat. Next time the knees fall over to the left, let's let them settle there. And so on one particular day, as he was sitting underneath his favorite oak tree, learning about the genius and its lineage through time, this exceptionally weathered traveler came out from the shadows of the trees. She was in tattered clothing and had this gnarled staff. What are you learning about? Without even looking up, he says, trees, it probably wouldn't interest you. She kind of looked around this beautiful, magnificent forest, chuckled to herself. Said, well, have you looked around you? And he rolled his eyes and he looked up at her and he said, I don't think what I'm interested in would interest you. I'm learning about the lineage of oak trees over the course of all of time. She smiled back at him and she says, I can tell you're busy. Obviously, I don't want to disrupt you. Would you mind if I shared one very brief story with you? We'll inhale and bring our knees back to neutral. And then we'll let the bottoms of the feet come together and the knees fall out wide. And so he doesn't respond to her request to share a story. So she decides she's going to share it with or without his consent. Because there was once a very prolific composer who wanted to create music that would move the citizens of the world. And so day after day, he dug deeper and deeper into theories about music. Studied the classical works. But no matter how much effort he put into researching, he never crafted something that he felt was worthy. Until one day he gave up. He went outside and he listened to the wind as it sung through the trees. The birds as they provided their chorus of chirps. The bees as they fluttered through the sky. And he heard the song of the universe itself. And it changed him forever. Advancing under the tree, notices that the woman has stopped. And he looks up just in time to see her tattered clothing disappear back into the shadows. Kind of laughs off the encounter and goes back to reading his books. When you're ready, we'll bring our knees back to neutral, and then we'll let both knees fall over to the second side, the right side. Looks back at his book and almost like he's been drugged, he starts to get incredibly drowsy. Before he knows what's hit him. He's fallen deep into a slumber. And when he wakes up, he looks around and he's shrouded in this mist. And the more his eyes adjust, the more he recognizes that he's not in the place where he fell asleep, underneath his favorite oak tree. He's in this clearing, surrounded by trees that seem to be in a near perfect circle. And the words, "Where am I?" escape his lips, and as they do, a woman in her tattered clothing with her gnarled staff appears from the shadows of the trees. She says, "You're in the grove of truth." He tries to scramble to his feet, but he's lumbering. He says, "What are you doing to me? Why did you bring me here?" But almost before he can finish the sentence, something reaches up from the ground and grabs his legs. He looks down and he sees that there's roots wrapping themselves around his legs. He tries to reach down, but as he does, there's vines that grab his arms and they immobilize him. The next inhale, we'll bring our knees back to neutral. Let the bottoms of the feet come together and the knees fall out wide one last time. He tries to scream out, but before he can do so, his body starts to morph and change. His legs start to mold together, and they become the trunk of a tree. His arms start to extend skyward as branches. And he can feel roots growing from his feet deep into the soil. And as they work their way through the soil, he starts to hear the microbes. He starts to feel the earthworms and the soil pulsing. He's connected to the entirety of the forest. And he's completely immobile. Last 30 seconds here. Time starts to change. And so do the seasons. Almost as if they're blinking by. He feels the delicate breath of summer, of autumn, and the deep slumber of winter. When you're right, when you're ready, knees come back to neutral. We'll push down into the toe mounds and heels and elevate the hips into one little bridge. And then we'll relax the tailbone back down to the mat. As the tailbone comes down to the mat, ask yourself if there's anything that you might want, need, or benefit from prior to Shavasana. And if there is, let's offer that to ourselves now. We have everything we need. Let's drift into a shape where we can deeply appreciate stillness. just your version of stillness that will benefit you tonight. As spring came, the winter slumber left, and he began to feel the vibrancy as leaves started to expand from his branches. And one spring day, a woman came to this clearing and sat beneath him in the shade he was creating. She reached into her bag and she pulled out a book about trees. And he looked down at this woman and saw himself. And as an act of compassion, he dropped a leaf down so that it perfectly fell into this woman's book. And she looked up and she had this inexplicable connection to this tree. Put the book down, she got up and she went over and she touched the bark. And as she did, she felt connection to this tree, aliveness within this tree. And the tree form melted away. And the man was standing there. The woman's astonished. But before the two can even have a talk, this woman in tattered clothing comes out with a gnarled staff. She forces it down into the earth and she says, "Do you understand now?" Before he can answer, before the woman knows what's going on, this woman in tattered clothing says, "Remember this wisdom," and she disappears into the shadows of the forest. We'll start to bring some movement into our fingers and our toes. Into our wrists and our ankles. Into our elbows and our knees. Shoulders, hips, neck, head, jaw, eyes, tongue. Eventually, the entirety of the body moves. We'll utilize that movement to transition into a seated shape. Spine realigns. Breath gets fluid, eyes closed. And we'll inhale our hands together. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that true wisdom blossoms not by studying life, but by experiencing it? And see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Love the heck out of you. So happy to see you. I'll be back on Sunday to recharge. We'll do this again next Monday. Have a beautiful week. Love you. Mwah.